So I started this season out making this the last season of the Mac Pro series, which it now isn't going to be. And well, after months of experience with this thing and the prices of 7,1s dropping a lot, it's time to really address the pink elephant in the room. Is this 2013 Mac Pro really worth it in 2024? Let's find out. Anyway, guys, I'm Greg Hrutkay of Hrutkay Mods, and in today's video, we're going to finally address that pink elephant in the room again, and actually talk about, is it really worth having a 6,1 Mac Pro in 2024? Now, this video is not going to be technical. It's not going to cover a whole lot of things. In fact, it's going to be repeating a lot of things I've said in the last few episodes. But now, in light of the 7,1s being cheap, and now that I have one because they're so cheap, we really need to talk about this again. Plus, I've learned more things about this versus the 5,1, which makes another pros and cons video in itself that we're not going to film because it's redundant at this point. But we need to talk about this system right here. This system right here is an okay system for its price. Its value keeps dropping like a stone, and it's worth it if you can get it at the right price. But honestly, it's still not that great, and I don't know if you could really consider this thing being worth it. Because this thing, as we know, is not expandable in the regular sense. It is expandable to a certain degree, but the 5,1 is actually more expandable and better in every way, shape, and form almost. The only advantages this system here has is it's got Thunderbolt and it's Thunderbolt 2, which means you can run eGPUs with the right patch and it will still perform quite well. It'd be almost about the same performance, if not the same performance as running a regular GPU in a 5,1. But you've also got to have the external case, which they never are cheap. And you've got to make it work, which on the 5,1, you just plug it in and it usually just works. On these, you've got to patch it to make it work with eGPU and all this stuff. And it's kind of a nightmare. And that's what I plan on filming in the next video. But, you know, it's still a decent machine. It's just more that I've learned about it, the more I've realized it's not really worth it. And I know I just said it is worth it. It is worth it, but it's not worth it. And what do I mean by that? So the advantages you have to this system is, of course, it already has metal GPUs in it, but they're slow and they aren't super great. So modern day OSs, you're not going to be using them to render with. So you really do want to use an eGPU. Where the 5,1 didn't come from the factory with a metal supported GPU, and you'd have to upgrade that. It also has USB 3 built in from the factory and those Thunderbolt ports, which are cool. It's great for expandability. But you know what else is even greater for expandability? A 5,1, because it's got actual PCIe slots in it. And it's, I've learned another thing. In the pros and cons videos, we were comparing speeds. Now, the 5,1, the biggest CPU it ever came with was a 3.06, which you could run dual 6 cores in from the factory. In fact, that's the one we ran in the comparison video. But in this scenario here, if you go with the 3.46, what is it? I'll put it in a quote down here. I can't remember. It's something 90. I'm a little fried today. But if you put one of those 3.46 CPUs in it, or even the 3.33, which is the 80 model, whichever one that one is, 5680. It's been a while since I've fooled with those CPUs. If you put those in them, you can get the same performance as this 2.7 gigahertz 12 core with the two 6 cores. Now, of course, you'll have some communication bottlenecking between the two CPUs. And of course, since the CPUs are 2 generations older than the CPU in this, which is a 3rd generation CPU, it has some more instruction sets. The problem is, between the 1st generation CPUs and this, the only instruction sets that really matter never really got used. And the ones you really need for today's modern day operating systems still aren't in this. This thing still doesn't have AVX2 in it, which the new OSs need. And eventually we'll need them to the point that, yeah, it's showing its age. And, you know, even though it's more efficient, it's a smaller process, it runs significantly less power. It's not really worth it, in my opinion. It's worth it for the price. The thing is, for a 5,1, you can get a 5,1, and you could put a Thunderbolt 3 card in it with an Alpine Ridge flashed card, and you'd get like Thunderbolt 2.5 speeds out of it. It's somewhere between a 2 and a 3. You're not getting full speeds because the addressing speeds of the Gen 2, but it's still probably be faster than the Thunderbolt in this, and it would be natively supported with the flash card. It also has, it's just not a great system, honestly. Expandability-wise, you got to do everything through Thunderbolt. But in the whole grand scheme of things, I think we do need to do a video on performance-wise of a maxed out system like this, which is almost maxed out. I could put twice the RAM in it. But a maxed out system like this versus like an M1 Ultra or Max or something like that. I've got an M1 Max. We could try comparing this to its speeds. It's definitely showing its age, and the 5,1s definitely have the upper hand in every way, shape, and form, because those 3.33s and 3.46s are actually faster than this thing when this thing's maxed out. And you can use twice the RAM in them. So that really kills this from day one has never been worth it. And it shows more. In the beginning of this season, it was worth it because it was a good price to performance. Now it's really not. In fact, you can sometimes get 5,1s for free, and you can upgrade them really cheap. This, I mean, you're still paying a few $100s for. They've gone down even more in price. This particular model, I think, is half of what I bought it for, and I just bought this thing in the beginning of the year. Yeah, so is it really worth it today? For the price, yes. If you're just using it to do little things, do editing, maybe some photoshopping and stuff, it's going to actually be a good workhorse. It would also make a very good Windows machine. But as a Mac in today's world, it's long in the tooth and not really, in my opinion, worth it. We are still going to do videos on what we can do with this thing, and this season is going to actually be a lot shorter than I originally planned, because the 7,1s are so cheap now that it's not really even worth filming this. But it's still a neat system, and it's still expandable to a certain degree. You can upgrade the CPU, you can upgrade the GPUs, as long as it's these GPUs. And honestly, it's still not worth it. So if you've got a D300 or 500, leave it. But if you want to upgrade them, you can. I wouldn't, because the more performance, the hotter they get, the less reliable they are. So if you have a lower end GPU, stick with it. But yeah, I just wanted to really address that there's not really much of a point of this season. In my opinion, this is kind of a joke system. It always has been. It always will be. It's a neat system, though. It's beautiful. It's elegant. It's got a lot of weird, neat features that this is the only Mac they ever have. And it was also the first Mac with an NVMe drive built into it, which was also neat. But even though it had a lot of firsts, it's just really, in today's standards, kind of a paperweight. It's not really good for, oops, pop the RAM out on it. It's not really good for much other than it can do some computing still. The Ivy Bridge generation Xeons in it are still fairly decent. You could run the eGPU into it, make it a neat gaming machine. I mean, if you can get eGPU working, especially in Windows, which we might experiment with, but it's still, the hassle alone of making this thing work the way you need it with all the external boxes and stuff, it's not worth it. Because everything this has as an advantage, you can make an advantage in a 5.1. Of course, it's running on Gen 2 PCIe speeds. This is running on Gen 3 PCIe speeds. But you also have to consider, it doesn't actually have PCIes in it, where that does. And with the faster CPUs, even though they are older and less efficient, they still perform better in almost every way, shape, and form. The only advantage this thing has in the benchmark tests we did was for AI generation or something like that. And you're not really going to be using AI on these anyway. So that's the only advantage, and why would you need it? Yeah, so that's the pink elephant in the room. Is it really worth buying one of these? For the price, yes. It can still do a lot of the things you need to do. But for expandability and actual functionality, no, I would not recommend buying one. Because just buying a system that was designed in 2009 and sold in 2009 and then upgraded and sold until 2012, that system is actually better than this system that they designed in 2013, released it in 2013, and sold until 2019, and it's worse. It always has been worse, and it will always be worse. But for the price, especially if you find one of these for free, this was a $10,000 system brand new. This particular one right here, I got it for $500. And now you can get these for like $200. That's how fast they're dropping in value. And you can upgrade one of these for a few bucks. I mean, the CPUs are dropping like a stone in value also. So if you could get a base model for free, because yes, there's sometimes you can get these for free now, it'd be worth upgrading and it'd be worth having. But you can also get a 5.1 sometimes for free. And with a little bit of work, even a 4.1, and flash it to a 5.1. With a little bit of work, you can have more performance than this and a lot more expandability. So yeah, it kind of kills this season really, because there's not much of a point in playing with this anymore. I've got a 7.1 now, and it's in every way, shape, and form better. And it's definitely worth more cost and performance wise than this ever could dream to be. So is it worth buying in 2024? If you get it really cheap, yes. If you don't, no, don't buy it. It's not worth it. Go for a 5.1, get a nice used 5.1, go for that. This is not worth that kind of money, but this thing still is worth, it's still a decent Mac. It's just, for the use case of a professional using a Mac Pro, it's not worth what it was back in the day. And even back in the day, it really wasn't worth that either. So yeah, on that bombshell, that's the end of today's video. And I know it's just me jabbering a lot, but yeah, that's how it goes. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this informative video where I just talk and hammer this thing into the ground in value-wise. And, you know, this is my personal opinion. If you don't like my opinion, comment below. Let's have a chat about it, because it's not worth it. Unless you get it cheap. And yes, it's worth it cheap. It's definitely worth it. It's a decent machine. It can still do a lot of things you need to do today. It's still a decent Mac, but it's not it's not worth it in the pro aspect. As a regular user, it's a perfect Mac for you, especially if you're beginning out there, because it's still got a lot of horsepower for what it is, but it's just definitely not a professional machine anymore. In fact, the iMac Pro had this thing hammered in the ground eons before the 7,1 even came out. I mean, it's just an awful system in general. And all the hardware in it was top of the line in 2013, and they sold it until 2019. It was not even top of the line by 2015. I mean, the hardware was really getting old, and I'm sure Intel was not happy making Ivy Bridge generation CPUs until 2019 for Apple to build these, because by then Ivy Bridge was really, really old. You know, it's what, 2012 generation? Yeah. You know, if this had a neck on it, you'd just want to strangle it. So, yeah. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and just this quick video of me talking about how bad this thing is. Don't forget, I have a Patreon and also membership, so you know the drill. Link at the end of the video, etc., etc. Please subscribe if you'd like to do that too. I'd greatly appreciate it. And I hope this didn't hurt anyone's feelings. And if I'm an idiot and I'm wrong, please comment in the down below, because it's my opinion, guys. This is a piece of crap. Professional-wise, as a regular user, it's a good machine. Go for it if you can get them cheap. But as a professional user, if you want something expandable, don't go for it. It's not worth it. But this series is more of just getting the most use out of this system you can get. And yeah, well, it's already expensive just to do the external Thunderbolt stuff. It's not worth it as a professional, but as a regular user, go for it. It's still worth it. So, yeah, I'm sure that's not how you wanted me to end this video if you're actually all for this system, but yeah, it's not great. And that's definitely the truth. It's still a neat system, though. It's very pretty, and yeah, that's the end of today's video, and this has been a Hrutkay Mods video. Why is everyone making noises? I hit record. Shut it. I literally hit record and everyone starts making noise. This episode, we're just going to quickly address the pink elephant in the room. The 6,1 Mac Pro, which I almost said 3,1 Mac Pro. Again, every single time I film this, I say that. I hate this series. A few things like, it's got some... Quiet, please! I forgot where I was now. CPUs. Translation issues.